Hey, what's going on, guys? Sheets and BobbyFi here for another update from the battleground. I guess the battleground of information. We try our best to balance, frustration with the desire to educate people that need it, and not condescend to people in too many ways. Trying to figure out, how much to talk about sports versus how much to talk about other stuff, and how much to worry about stuff versus how much to be positive. And we're all kind of facing the same situation. Just kind of to follow up on something, just because, if you guys are, I don't know how many of you guys are watching this. I know, Bob, you're really not tweeting these things and like publicizing, which is fine. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
People want to look for it, they will. And for those of you who have been kind of following these, I did tell a story yesterday about one of my daughter's friends who was in a really unique situation, ended up what I thought was going to be stranded in Singapore for about 2 weeks. But as it turns out, kind of, reason did prevail after a little bit of stress, and she did end up getting out of there. But so that is, and again, that is not too surprising considering, the positive things I've said about Singapore over the last several weeks, that common sense does kind of prevail over there in a way that's somewhat unique in a way.
Mm-hmm.
So that was that. The other thing, and this is I don't know why anybody's surprised about this, that slowly but surely things spreads, and it hits closer to home than others, and everybody fine. I'm fine. I'm not going to about to announce I have the coronavirus or anything. But as you guys may or may not remember, I mean, I was yelling and screaming for my school district like last week to close before they were eventually, quote unquote, forced to. My school district was the last school district within this area to close, and was all the way until last Friday that they were open. Fortunately, fortunately, on Monday, my son had a little bit of not even a cold, just nothing. I'm like, you know what? We were going to tell you to stay home anyway. Just stay home. And he was fine the rest of the week, but we had him stay home anyway. Just because we just felt as though quarantining was his best for a lot of reasons, not from him, but just like in general as people. So, just yesterday, I just got a call from a friend of mine whose 17-year-old son had contracted the coronavirus. Really good friend of my son's, and I coached the kid playing basketball since six years old. I mean, he's fine. I mean, he's he's recovering and all this, and his parents so far are fine, whatever it is. And I don't want to get into the whole thing about how he got tested and why he got tested, because even his parents, I don't even know why they tested him. They probably shouldn't have. We just kind of just knew. But nonetheless, I'm really, really frustrated with my school district, and I'm, again, the least political person in the world. I don't even know who like my representative is. Okay, but I just kind of knew that this was a really big mistake. And you look at some of the emails from my district when they were staying open, they were just more concerned about, boy, but if we close, we're going to have to cut into vacation days down the road to make up these days. You guys think about that?
How can we miss the next school musical?
Right. Yeah, exactly. And so it's and they were even stressing listen, just so you know, no one has it. It's nothing to really worry about. We're on top of it. We really can't close really until the governor tells us to, and this, that, and the other thing. But you could just tell the overall tone of things was just way more complacent than even the average community of idiot New Yorkers. Let's just put it that way. Yeah. And I'm sure word will spread or whatever it is. And I fear that 50 kids have it. I really do. So we're talking about a very healthy young man. So for those of you who think that you have to be 80 to get it, it's not the case. Now, again, he's going to recover fine, I'm sure. And, he's already, light years better than he was. And, not to neglect the fact that there are going to be people walking around without symptoms, who can spread it as well. But, just to kind of let you guys know that, discretion is always the better part of valor. You should always be more cautious in general. And with something like this, everybody's got to be more cautious even than they think. and that's just what you have to understand. And New York has now been, and again, you talk about, in poker, we used to say the word ob all the time. When someone say something that was just completely obvious to everybody, we just say ob. And unfortunately, what New York has finally, followed California in issuing the closest thing to a lockdown that's been that you can get, I guess, for now, I suppose, but which we knew was coming a week ago. Okay. And the question is, why would they wait? If you knew it was coming, what do you think? That everything was just going to get better in the next day? I mean, you can't stop like a boulder that's rolling down the hill as fast as it is from stopping so quickly. You have to let it kind of level off a little bit before you can even attempt to it. I mean, you just knew where this was going, and they and so this is where we are. And for those of you that follow me on Twitter, again, it's really frustrating to me, this kind of philosophical position I'm in, because I was I'm old enough to have had a Mondale Ferraro bumper sticker on my car, okay, back in the day, and a card carrying member of the ACLU, and my parents were at Woodstock. You know what I mean? Like this is my generation of liberalism, right? And it's really putting me to a test. I mean, not philosophically, but just the whole concept of that people should be allowed to do what they want to do. They shouldn't let the government tell them what's right. They should be able to question. They should be able to go do whatever. And the way that people are dealing with this is really pushing me. Let's just put it that way. That's part of my inner frustration. But the good thing is I'm old enough that I'm still stubborn to my ways. So I'm not rolling to the dark side quite yet. But I do think that people should please listen. And I apologize for some of my tones of my Twitters my tweets when I would say, listen, when you're young and you complain to your parents, oh my God, why are you treating me like a freaking child, telling me where I can and can't go? Well, when you stop acting like a child, maybe I'll stop treating you like that. And this is what's happened. I mean, first, I really do think that the governors and the people the rule makers in New York and in the country know what needs to be done. So what they start was, listen, you really shouldn't go outside. All right. And people are like, I shouldn't? Huh? What does that mean? Shouldn't? Oh, you know what? That doesn't apply to me. I feel like it. You know what I mean? And then the government's, okay, I think you know what we meant. So maybe we should say, don't go out to bars, clubs, or stuff like that. Oh, okay, that's kind of what you meant. All right, so maybe we'll just go out and just hang out at a party, all 30 of us by ourselves. You know what I mean? Okay, you weren't listening to me then either. So fine, now I have to go out and treat you like children and say you can't go anywhere. You know what I mean? And I really think that's what this kind of this stay-at-home shelter-in-place thing, and the way they're couching it and the words they're using. You know what everybody means. If you could possibly stay the fucking home, stay the fucking home. You know what I mean? It's people can understand English, so why don't you say it that way? Just stay the fucking home. Well, what about me? Okay, fine. I mean, look, stay home. Let's start with that. All right, and then okay, if you're in a life or death situation, you have to make it to the hospital. You have to do it. Okay, fine. I'd like to think that common sense could prevail a little bit in that case, but maybe it isn't. I mean, I don't know. So that's my coronavirus kind of frustration. Before we go on to the next thing, do you have anything to add on that? Because I do want to talk about some of the insider trading stuff that happened yesterday.
So my family is pretty. They're okay. So they're liberal as people, but they're fairly cautious because we have a giant family. We talked a little bit about on other shows about how I grew up sailing and stuff. That was us doing it ourselves from when we were little. So we've done everything very everybody's very careful about everything when you're dealing with that many people.
Yep.
But what's really been aggravating to me is not being able to be close to them. I'm on day 8 now down in LA. And they're up in Santa Barbara. And as of yesterday, I'm talking to my dad on the phone, and he's very cautious that, we have group emails that are going out to everybody. And he said, look, he finally said, okay, I think it's time to stop working from home yesterday, which is before the shutdown. But then he said, he said, we'll have one department head from each of the companies that has to go, you know, can go, but anybody else who's going to associate with any of our family can't associate if they're going to go to work.
Okay.
Now, except for they're allowed to have his one a day. I said, why are you letting one person go there a day? He goes, well, they've still got people in the office every day. I'm like, well, it stays on surfaces for 3 days, and that's only what our latest news is. I mean, remember when we thought that no young people could be affected? Now 40% of the hospitals are taken up by people who are 20 to 54.
Is that right?
That's exactly right. And it's fucking crazy. I'm sorry, it's crazy. It just, I feel like I don't want to go into a rant about it, but even the people who are the most concerned about this and have been for a long time are still waiting to hear from a government they don't trust and being told what to do from a government they don't trust. It's just strange. Do the work yourself. It's been obvious. We've been right about everything. It doesn't matter. Like if this, you know, please, I pray to God that hopefully the deaths don't go up and it's a bad flu and we get through it and we're all fine. I don't think we'll truly know for years because that's not how viruses work. For those of you who aren't familiar, viruses just sort of remorph and tend to usually come back stronger. So whatever's happening now is just the first part of it. But I don't want to scare everyone. I just think that you should do the work yourself. Don't trust everything you hear on the news. Read everything. Hear everything from different angles. For me, I watch Fox News for 30 minutes every day, just even though I hate Fox News, because I have to get it. I don't want to just watch CNN and get their takes. I don't want to just watch MSNBC. I don't want to just watch my local news. I want everybody's take because I don't know how we can make the better decisions going forward as long as everyone's trying to skew things in their direction and trying to, you know, be racist and blame. One of the things that I see that's most disturbing is that people who were still out, just all these horrible Asian beatings, like just absolutely atrocious like behavior. And that just shows you what someone who's the head of our country can turn everybody against a race like that. It's actually scary to me. I don't want to make it all political. Just be kind to your brother, be kind to your friends, and really realize that we're all in this together. And let's get through it. And let's be responsible. Stay at home. We'll find something else to entertain ourselves. Play poker.
You know what? We talked about this with respect to, I guess you and I separately, but also in stock market life and whatever. Is that it is very important to when you said, you know, watch Fox News 30 minutes a day. It is very important to gather information from sources other than what might be your own and other than, you know, what you might feel you're going to get frustrated about, you know, because some people, I just can't watch it. I just can't watch Fox News. I just can't do it. Or I can't watch CNN. Let's say, you know, you're anti, you know, let's say that you're very Republican and you're conservative. And for those of you that are like that, you say, well, I just can't watch CNN. I just can't take it. I can't stand watching those idiots or whatever. It's really important to know what everybody is thinking, okay? And what a lot of people's opinions are or whatever. So that, number one, you can understand behaviors that otherwise you might not be able to understand, right? And, you know, it just, all information I consider is good information. But I agree with you in some respects that you do have to make your decisions on your own. And yet, you know, it's and this is, you know, the advice I keep giving my son is to, if you could always surround yourself with just very smart people and people you trust, smarter than you and stuff like that, you're gonna live a really, really much better life than just walking around the world thinking you're smarter than everybody. Okay.
Right.
Yeah. So that's we're very similar as far as that's concerned.
Yeah.
And you know, when you talked about the kind of these little these other things that kind of develop from this, like the racism that might be happening with you know, well, I don't want to say side notes, but you know, they're important. But these kind of this fallout that happens as a result of it. There's stuff that like eventually people are going to consider like for example, I don't know where you stand on this. So there are these videos that have been kind of going around of kids just kind of, let's just say, acting stupid. Okay. Mm-hmm. You know, there was one especially viral video that went out where they were interviewing kids in Florida, I guess. And, you know, they were putting videos up of some kids making some really, really dumb statements or whatever it is. And I mean, I just want to say a couple of things about that. Right. Number one, they probably interviewed 100 kids to get exactly the 3 responses that they wanted to put out there to show the dumbest of the dumb. Okay. Right. So that's one thing. The second thing I would mention is I'm sure that the kids, the parents, and everybody associated with them already feel like freaking idiots for having said these things and for having done them. And to get people to just pile on, I guess this is more of a Twitter problem than a coronavirus problem, I suppose. But there was a thing where Michael Dell and some other like billionaires went out there. Like Michael Dell put up this post saying, just retweeting that video and saying, please, all of you, do not apply for jobs at Dell. Okay, just chill, buddy. You know what I mean? Like that's the last thing these guys, these kids need, is for like really well-known people to be stomping on their heads also. You know what I mean? So that is something I kind of felt for. The other thing I will say is also be careful to be a complete lynch mob, okay, before people know like all the facts on stuff like that. And as I say that, I do want to talk for just a minute about, or maybe it'll end up being more than a minute, on what is, I don't want to say not the new thing, but something that just came out was these allegations of insider trading on on these senators that were involved in the Senate meeting. So you're into my world a little bit when you're telling, number one, with legal stuff, number two, when you're with market related stuff, and also something I just mentioned, like number three, just Twitter lynching and Twitter mob lynching stuff also. So I'm gonna say this. Call this a bad take. Call whatever it is. This is reality. First of all, this is not an easy thing. In other words, insider trading laws, number one, are complex. Number two, the law that these people will have been violating, if in fact turns out they acted untowardly, is not in technically insider trading law. There was an actual specific act called the Stock Act, which was passed down during the Obama administration, that specifically dealt with senators and congressmen trading on information that's gleaned from these meetings. There are separate quote unquote insider trading laws, which deals with people acting on information they receive from publicly traded companies. So it is a little bit, it is a little nuanced when it comes to that. And the other thing I would mention again is I would let the people that know about this kind of stuff and the people in charge of the prosecuting all this stuff kind of hash all this stuff out before you just kind of just destroy like everybody. Like, for example, like they just made a list of like all these senators and they said, all these guys, this guy sold this guy sold this. Please impeach this guy. He did this. Please, this guy should go to jail immediately because this guy did this. Okay. It's like, and there was one guy that, and again, I don't know all the details yet, but at least from what I looked at right away, they destroyed this one senator, Johnson, who everybody looked on the Twitter, they looked really quick. Oh my God, this guy sold $5 million worth of stuff right after the thing. Guy's obviously a criminal. Hang him, lock him up, throw away the key. As it turns out, if anybody with a little whatever looked into it, the thing that this one particular guy sold, it was part of a private equity deal. You know what I mean? That wasn't even a publicly traded stock, and it wasn't even a decision that he had made, and it was a deal that had closed like weeks before that just happened to have hit his account. You know what I mean? Like after whatever. So and then there are other people, and again, if you go down trade by trade, you'll be able to find things that kind of that appear fishy or whatever. Just let honestly, everybody knows what's going on. As far as everybody now knows that all these people sold stuff. Let the experts kind of hash it out. And I do feel is that people that are looking for this entire Senate, everybody at that meeting, to be put in jail for selling stocks, I think they're going to be severely disappointed with the results. Okay. I also do think, by the way, that there are going to be people from this mess that are found to have been violating the Stock Act and, will be forced to, and things might happen to them. Okay, one other thing I'll just let me just finish one thing. One other thing I will throw in is just a matter of education, is that what most people do, and this is sometimes where I get some of my business from, a lot of people that are involved with publicly traded companies, for example, who might be subject to scrutiny for insider trading stuff if stuff happened, what they usually do is they actually put their money in a blind trust where they don't even have any knowledge of what's being bought or sold. That's why some people hire outside managers to manage for them, so that they don't actually have any knowledge of what's being bought or sold, to give them some kind of protection in Chinese wall from from, allegations of stuff like this. They could honestly say they have no idea what they're investing in. And I believe, I mean, that's what I would advise, but I would imagine that some senators, some congressmen, people that are, for whom the Stock Act was designed to to prosecute, they would do something similar after this act was passed, is put their money in a blind trust such that they have no direct knowledge of anything that's going on with what's being bought or sold. And that stuff is taken somewhat seriously. Now, with that said, again, I do believe there are also going to be people coming out of this mess that are shown to have been acting in their own self-interest without a blind trust, just literally trading on the bad news that's coming out of these Senate meetings. Okay. And I think that's possible too. But I will say again, like with everything else, try to either, right, one or two, either educate yourself on this stuff. Two, don't educate yourself on stuff and let other people that know about it kind of handle it. Or but three, don't do neither. Don't spew and talk idiocy when you don't know anything. All right. And that's where I'm at on that.
But are we sure that from a totally non-legal standpoint that I could really care less about, because I'm not worried about that right now?
Yeah.
My issue is with people having information in advance and not doing things when there's people's lives at risk. Now, I know that's a very different thing than the stock market situation. It's hard to believe, it's hard to imagine that at least there's not some smoke where there's fire kind of a thing with this. That's more my issue with it.
I agree. No, I agree with that. And that's what I said. I'm sure that there's a lot of that.
Yeah.
But not all of it.
No, I'm sure. I'm 100%. And also, I mean, on the flip side, and this might be, I certainly wouldn't be saying this if I was a stockbroker trader. If I did have, I honestly think it's a weird situation to be put in if you're not allowed to publicize something. So what exactly are they supposed to do?
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's like, are you just going to decide to lose all your money? I don't want to be sympathetic with the devil, but
Bobby, that's reality. You know what I mean? It's not exactly being sympathetic, and that's reality, and that's again why, like I said, people in those types of situations, I mean, I wouldn't say almost never, but very rarely put themselves in that position. Very rarely, let themselves be able to buy and sell stuff on their own. You know what I mean? Like that, and that's to protect themselves against with stuff like this. Because look, if you're sitting in a room, let's just say, for example, your dad is the head of a publicly traded company, okay, and you see him and you have $1 million in the stock of his company, and he comes back from work like all depressed, and you're like, what happened, Dad? What's the matter? He's like, I just found out we're gonna lose a really, really big lawsuit tomorrow, and it's gonna impact our earnings, and people are gonna find out about it in 2 days, and I can't imagine what's gonna happen to the stock. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What do you do with that?
Exactly.
What do you do with
it? I know. I don't. Exactly.
Right? Or and then okay, so then let's say that your best friend has all of his money, including all of his family's money, in the stock of your dad's company, right? What do you do?
Yeah.
Do you tell him? Do you not tell him? Now, there are insider trading rules that actually have specific rules about what you can say, what you can't, and whatever. And that's, again, likewise why, there's specific things that when you're with a publicly traded company that you do, like you actually set up like an organized stock buyback and sell stuff throughout your course of your time there. That's already been predetermined, such that this type of thing doesn't happen where you get accused of trading on information. And or better yet, like I said, just put a Chinese wall, have a professional money manager, just kind of do it. And you know what I mean? And what you do is you make yourself exempt from even buying stuff in your own company. You know what I mean? And that's what I sometimes do. Like if I have a guy who's investing with me and he's the CEO of a company, I have a little carve out where I'm not allowed to buy, sell, or anything for regarding that.
Right.
So it is just not black and white. But like you said, I certainly feel as though there is going to be something comes out of this. But let's just talk a little along the way. So if they go to this meeting, if senators go to this meeting, let's just talk hypothetically. They go to this meeting, and apparently, from what they said, they came out of that meeting feeling not that it wasn't a big deal, right?
Basically.
So if that's the case, why would they sell everything?
That's my point.
It's like so.
Perspective,
they're either dumb about, like, for example, like if I went out, I mean, let's be greedy. If I were sort of concerned about the coronavirus and I went into a Senate meeting, okay, let's say there were no rules, okay, and I went into a Senate meeting and people were worried about the coronavirus, and the people were in there told me it's not a big deal, and I believe them, I buy the shit out of everything because I know that so much of the negativity is priced in that I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to make a fortune.
Yeah, but I think that's the whole thing, is that in the meeting, what really happened, obviously. That's
what I'm saying is that people that either that or I came out of it like just scared shitless and then lied about the tone of it. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? That's the other thing that I'm more concerned about with these people that sold stock after this. They also came out and said, boy, this is not a big deal. So they either were idiots or they were evil in that they deliberately misrepresented the tone of the meeting, which I'm unfortunately inclined to believe the latter. So yeah. So it's look, I'm always good. I'm always up for punishing the bad guys. You know, just be careful. But I shouldn't say be careful because in Twitter there's no consequences, right? When I say just be careful who you attack or whatever, they'll just just attack everybody. And if it turns out you're wrong, just go on to something else. You know, that's the way Twitter works, I suppose. But so that's the insider trading stuff.
Well, we're filming this right now during the press conference, which usually we wait till after, or we've been waiting till after. But it's funny because what's good, what I consider a good sign. Nothing has popped up as a new thing on Twitter that has to do with this yet. So hopefully, while we're recording this, that maybe this news conference isn't as groundbreaking as maybe some of the others. And I thought it was going to be a big groundbreaking one. I thought this might.
The other thing you could say again, and we can have this discussion again.
Yeah.
Is before they announced, and okay, so here's the thing. So let's talk about a little stock market, just a little tiny little stock market thing.
Yeah.
So they mentioned when they made the announcement that New York was going to whatever you want to call this new lockdown, the Dow was up like 300 and now it's down 250, right? Mm-hmm. So the market use the Dow as a proxy for the market for the time being, right? So the stock market was down 550 points since New York announced this. If in fact the market closes down 550 or 350, you know what they're going to say? They're going to say market's down 550 because of the news came out of New York about the lockdown, right? However, you, I, and the rest of the universe knew this was coming 3 days ago, right? So why now? Like, why is the market going to sell off now on this news? And if the market, and it's certainly possible, the market totally turns and the Dow is up 1,000. You know what I mean? Then they're going to spin it differently. They're going to say market up 1,000 on news that New York's lockdown will increase the recovery time for the coronavirus. You know what I mean? So it's definitely it's a mind fuck.
It's interesting because literally since this press conference started, the only thing that I can really, because I'm just looking at I was peeking at my Bitcoin on one of my screens over here.
Yeah.
And since when it started, Bitcoin Cash was up 24% today.
Okay.
Bitcoin straight was up, I think 13%, 12.5%, something like that. Bitcoin Cash is now down 0.5%.
Yeah, Trump, and people are trying. I mean, if you look long enough, you can find you'll find charts of how markets and stuff move, correlating with when Trump speaks.
Right.
But that's how sensitive the market is right now. Like okay, so this is a little different. This is something you don't remember. This is a good example of somehow how touchy and how volatile the market could be relative to stuff like this. Back when Bush and Gore were running against each other in the election, I don't know how old you were at this point, but
I was very heavily involved in that election.
Oh, awesome. Okay. So basically there was for those of you that weren't, there was a big election situation where it was really, really close, and Florida was down to a couple of hundred votes and all kinds of litigation with respect to whether there should be a recount and what form the recount should come, or whatever it is. And from the market's perspective, it was an incredible thing because, first of all, the market took sides, meaning that anything that happened that was good for Bush, the market would ramp. Anything that happened that was good for Gore, the market would sell off. And you can argue why, whatever. People would just assume that the Republicans would be good for the market, Democrats would be down. Whatever it is, the market did take sides. And what ended up happening was literally as they would be arguing the cases before the Florida courts, which were being kind of shown. And every time that the judge would even rule on an objection in like Bush's favor, the market would go up by 200 points. And then like when the judge would go, and it was that specific and that tied to that one particular thing that the market would just go bananas with just taking the stand on who would win that election. And then the actual microcosm of it was which particular ruling would impact the result of the election the most. It was crazy. Mm-hmm. And in a weird way, the market is moving with this stuff actually a little more orderly than it could have, like, and I think that's because the way information spreads and things like that, that, I could have seen this like much different. Like you could have seen like 10% moves when any person gets tested positive. You know what I mean? Like, or if somebody famous, for example, got tested positive or whatever it is. And so the market itself is actually performing in a very orderly manner. You know what I mean? Like I don't know if people don't want to hear this, but you see a market down 300, only down 1.5% with a very modest trading range, like never going up or down more than 4. That's actually a sign of order. You know what I mean? So it's as usual, the market's more of an exercise in psychological analysis than it is actual analysis of companies and things like that. But it's definitely rough out there
it's rough business. Oh man. All right. Well, I have, I'm trying to think if there's anything sports related that we should get.
Anything. Oh, okay. No, there totally is. All right. So we can get into this. So Sean Payton.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So the one last standing bastion of degenerate gambling that at least I had some, and still do have some allegiance to is horse racing, right? So and horse racing, it's really fun. So horse racing, I thought was going to be dead because of this, but as it turns out, they're rolling today. Gulfstream Park is closing today, citing reevaluation of health risks associated with the jockeys or something like that. But they are saying we are planning to reopen tomorrow. So technically, it would be the first thing to reopen after getting shut down. So I guess things are turning around, right? So the reason why I bring it up is because as we did not, I'm pretty sure this preceded us yesterday, was that Sean Payton was diagnosed whatever. He finally announced that he had coronavirus positive, and he made some comments that only 4 more days left in quarantine. To which we were like, whoa, wait a minute. This is the first we're hearing about it, and only 4 more days left in quarantine. And it turns out that a couple of days earlier, he was present at Oaklawn Park, a racetrack in Arkansas. As you corrected me on, as you told me, it was actually delivering a trophy in the winner's circle, which a lot of famous people do. They get called upon to deliver a winning trophy in the winner's circle. And to which we're like, you got to be kidding me, right? So I was like, kind of like half joke, half sarcastic to my partner in the horse racing stuff. I'm like, oh well, so much for that. It was a good run with the horse racing. These are all going to be closed now. But we got Aqueduct canceled finally. Okay, that's New York. Gulfstream canceled for today, saying that they're going to come back tomorrow. We'll see. But we still got the fairgrounds in New Orleans. We got Golden Gate is actually running in San Francisco, by the way. They are running without fans. They've been running without fans, but they are still running. Hey, I don't want to be racist. I guess they don't care putting the foreign jockeys at risk, I suppose.
That's
right?
crazy.
Or the limited trainers or whatever. I'm sure they're saying they have a lot of protections. And if you watch any of the races, the guys that are in charge of putting the horses in the gates, you see them all with masks and gloves. You know what I mean? You come on. You know what I mean? Like, give me a break. Now they're generating just so much revenue still without like having that many people working there that they're probably going to be the last to close, if at all. I mean, honestly, like I think they would have by now. We'll see. Like if Golden Gate isn't closing, like based out of San Francisco, I don't know. Maybe these guys, whatever. Sam Houston Park, they're in Texas.
How is Golden Gate still running today?
Oh, they are running, and they are.
Is that considered something?
They're running without fans.
Yeah, but there's other people. Obviously, there's people that are there.
Oh yeah, there are trainers. There's jockeys. There's the announcers. There are people there.
How does that fit into? It doesn't really fit into the necessity of like of what the actual language says is that it has to be a job.
Essential.
Essential. Thank you. Is the word.
Is that essential? Excuse me, and Santa Anita is running too.
Oh my God!
In Arcadia, and again, they will. I guess they do give a lot of it back to the state, I suppose. So you could talk about conspiracy theories there.
So here, go ahead.
Yeah. So Golden Gate, Fairgrounds, Sam Houston, Tampa Bay Downs in Florida, they're still going. Those are just the ones that I'm kind of active in. Let's look at some of these others. Yeah, Charlestown, Oak Lawn, by the way, the same place that what's his name was at. They're running the same place that Sean Payton was actually at.
So I want to talk about that from a different perspective, real quick. The Sean Payton. I mean, this is just shocking. Like to me, I can't make heads or tails.
It's amazing, right?
Yeah, absolutely, it makes no sense to me. What I think right. About the Sean Payton thing. And that I thought was interesting about, announcing that Kevin Durant has it, but then naming that 3 other Nets have it, but they wouldn't say who, that 2 Lakers have it, and we still don't know who. I want to give my take on the reasoning for this. This is one of those read between the lines type of things that I think that people should be doing. I don't think that the public wants anyone who's actually actively ill and a celebrity out there talking about being sick and having the coronavirus. They want to talk about them either recovering from it or they want to talk about them feeling no symptoms. So that's pretty much the only ones we've seen so far. When Sean Payton says that I only have 4 more days left of quarantine, and he was at a racetrack on Saturday, I'm doing the math. That doesn't make any sense. And did he know he had it? I'm not saying he did.
I am.
I'm saying it's very, very likely that he did, or very.
I am. I mean, and I'm allowed. I mean, people on Twitter saying anything they want. We could be an intelligent person. I mean, like,
if he did, in fact, and you could prove that he knew, I think he should be prosecuted after this is done. That's my personal take. I think it's absolutely so crazy beyond. If you actually know you have something like this and you're going to go out and
no, man, I'm listen. The TV says I can go outside. Right, going outside is fine. I'm going to try my best to stay 6 feet away from people. And worst case, I'm healthy and I just got the flu.
Okay. I do want to point, this is not a conspiracy theory. This is just what happens in these times. The way media has to report things is to also not create a panic, which the government's been trying to do also. Unfortunately, I think it might have backfired. But I do think that this is what they're trying to do with this overall thing. And that's why we don't know the other Nets players' names. I know the players have to give their consent, and that's the excuse they're running under. Yep. That's not – that's.
Well, tell me again. So explain to me what anybody has to gain from only showing the healthier people.
Because it doesn't create the panic. So I think that they're being asked by both their representatives and probably by government officials to only report the ones who are.
So you think that it's better for everybody, for people to not think it's a big deal?
Yeah, I mean, it's better. Absolutely. I think that the wave of panic would be a lot heavier if we were seeing, if Tom Hanks and Rita Wilson also came with them, having pneumonia and only being able to use 20% of their lungs in bed, which happens to a lot of people who get this disease. That's not a good look, and that's something that would alarm people probably to an extent that's a little bit too much. Or not too much. I guess that's the way I would think the government would think about it. Because
that's the thing I worry about. That's the thing I'm kind of struggling with, whether it's better to over panic people or under panic people.
it's a funny fine line because I don't think there's a clear answer. And I think that like even the things that see the way you can tell this stuff though is you look around the news. Why is that not the biggest headline? That 40% of the people hospitalized are between 20 and 54 years old. That's the most important headline because that was the exact opposite of what we were told. And that's also the youngest group that we were told wasn't going to be affected by this.
I will say this about the NBA specifically, only because number one, as as mentioned out here before, I actually have a relative who works for the NBA. Literally he's the smartest person on the face of the earth. Okay, and in addition to that, I actually used to be really good friends with from college with someone whose uncle was David Stern, actually the previous commissioner, and I will say this: that those are some smart dudes there, and that's like they spent like a long time, starting with the 70s through the 80s or whatever, building just an insane brand in the NBA, and they became like multi-billion-dollar industry, kind of, in a really, really professional, really good way, and I would like to believe that they're doing that which protects on the one hand, protects their brand the best because they know going forward, they're going to be back. And the other thing, I do think that they want to be on the right end of the public relations thing as well. So I don't think they would be that sinister. And this is my thing, in a way that could come back to bury them later. You know what I mean? So that would be my take on it.
Well, let's look at the numbers though. Like every celebrity, we haven't seen one yet who's ill. And we know a lot of them have been ill. So it's just weird. Like they say they're on the other side of it. I just feel like maybe I could be wrong about this, but I think it's still important to keep your mind open to it.
Absolutely. So, and I think that again, there are two, and again, one of the guys I told you is coming out of this, whatever. I mean, not being a politics guy, honestly, is, there's one particular representative from the New York area who I've become very fond of over the last like several weeks on Twitter. Who represents an area having nothing to do with mine. He represents an area like in upper Manhattan in Harlem, which is the exact opposite of where I live, both geographically and socioeconomically. Let's just put it that way. And he's been just a freaking beacon of good information during this whole thing and good advice. And what he's really one of his real forceful things is to let the healthy people and the healthier people that have these symptoms just don't flood the hospitals with tests, you know what I mean? And asking for tests because we need them for the people that are older that really need it. And what he keeps saying is what we really need, one of the things he really needs, he's waiting for the first famous person to come out and say, I have these symptoms, I have the flu symptoms, I probably have coronavirus, and what I'm doing is I am not going in for testing because I am of the type that can handle it on their own at home, and I'm going to let these be available for whatever. And I think that alongside of that, I think, again, not to be morbid, but like you said, I think it would be a good idea to have someone famous or whatever it is that is not doing so hot, right? Come out and say, listen, this is not a joke. I'm really, this sucks. And please take it seriously because it was definitely cool when Donovan Mitchell came out and said the other thing. He said, listen, I'm getting better. I honestly can go play a 7-game series tomorrow, which in a way was what makes this thing freaking scary, is that there are people like me that think they're 100% healthy that are carrying this thing. So you got to be aware of that. So that is definitely one, that was his position. So he did the right thing as far as saying that. And yet on the other extreme, it would also be, I don't want to say nice, you know what I'm saying? Like it would also be helpful if people who are known by a lot of other people to come out and say, listen, this is serious and I'm kind of not doing so hot.
Well, Sean Payton did say that he wasn't feeling well before.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He said it feels good to be feeling better.
Yeah.
But we didn't see any of it. And okay, look, there's a lot of things. I'm not going to get into all kinds of conspiracy things. The only thing I'm saying is that just don't trust the death toll numbers. And by the way, even some of the other stories about people who've had this and gotten better. By the way, a lot of people get better and then they're better and then they get worse again, a week later or something. Just don't believe the death numbers. I've been reading about how the numbers of pneumonia deaths across the country or across the world have spread over the last 4 months. And that's like the final stage for a lot of these people when they get the disease. So just be careful, just really be careful and stay inside. That's all I gotta say. I don't want to keep being alarmistic. I just feel like, God, all this information is kind of horrifying.
Bobby, just, not to be overly whatever, but I'm still waiting for any kind of notification on the kid that I know about.
Oh my God, man. So
so
he's feeling okay.
Not to mention probably the 50 other kids that are likely impacted by this.
Yeah.
I mean, I like to think that what they're doing is actually reaching out and contacting the actual people that that's usually the procedure here. They actually reach out to the people who they track to be, they ask the kid or whoever it is that's around here that gets it, who are you with, whatever. And they reach out to those people first, and they say, listen, we found out that, you may have been in contact with someone who, whatever, you should, just to give you a heads up or whatever it is. And then they may be like added to the numbers and released to the district later. But I'm sitting here and I know nothing.
It's just, it's crazy. I can't believe, honestly, my mom doesn't have this. She's incredibly sick. She has some sort of infectious disease, which her doctor can't quite place. She's been stuck in bed for it's been 2 weeks now. It's crazy to me that she doesn't have this. I think that's bizarre. She's actually one of the people who was able to get tested. But,
and I was saying, and I asked you the other day it was going to be an insensitive way, but I was asking how old she was. When you told me how young she was, I was expecting you to say something, well, she's like 85 or something. So, okay, she's 85. Maybe she's just old, maybe she's just getting, but your mom's young. I mean, she's young.
Yeah. Just has had a horrible, immune issues over the last 5
years. Just been running bad,
Yeah, she's definitely running bad. Speaking of which, how's the poker been? Did you play again yesterday?
Yeah, they played at Six Max yesterday, and I made the mistake of being second in chips, going totally after a guy that was first in chips in one hand, and just reshoving all in with like a multi-combo draw with one card to come, and he called me and I lost.
Oh man,
it was fun though. It was definitely it was fun moving chips around, especially with Six Max. It was extra fun. It was extra fun moving chips around. I love Six Max.
Yeah, I'm debating whether to play the Six Max today. There's a 1K on America's Card.
Oh, on ACR?
Yeah. It's not that the 1K bothers. It's a 1K re-enter too, so it could get expensive.
Oh, I don't care. Well, we got that, but whatever. Really.
Yeah, but it's like the fields in the high buy-ins are actually pretty strong. At first, it was like they didn't know me, and then they started writing. People were writing as if they knew me in chat. I don't know who they are, but they seem to either know me from the past or from DFS. So I don't know which one. But it's an interesting. The one thing I felt good about playing again is that I've been able to build like just tremendous stacks and everything pretty much. I mean, very few tournaments I've played where I haven't. It's and then you got to run good at certain points of the tournaments. But
I tell you, because I told you I've been playing in these tournaments with like really really weak players. So I've been essentially just knitting it up and playing solid and just letting the chips kind of fall in my lap. You know what I mean? Like just kind of the way that's the way it kind of works in those types. So I haven't really had to do anything, which is why I'm like kind of like a little mad at myself for getting involved in such an enormous. It was like one of those things where I would do like literally 100% of the time against anybody decent, and even as I'm doing it, I'm like, he's just gonna call me, and I'm just gonna have to get there. And if I fold, I'll probably have like an average stack at this point anyway, and probably be a huge favorite. But you know what? I'm just not interested. I just kind of just did it anyway.
Yeah, I gotcha.
But there's another thing I hope doesn't happen. These PokerStars home games things are just getting just way highly publicized. I really hope PokerStars can shut down too. Even like the free games, that they just know people are playing for money on the side for. You know what I mean? So
people are talking about it a lot too, and I'm just like, and there are people who are playing a lot of big money games there.
I'm sure.
Who are playing it very, where they're not supposed to.
I told you, my buddy put it, you got the link. My buddy put it on Facebook. He put his cell number. He put his thing. He says actually what the buy-in is, how to send him money, his Venmo number, right on Facebook.
Yeah, that's right. That means I have to play tonight or whatever.
Absolutely.
Because I paid already for last night.
Absolutely.
All right, man. Well, anything else before we get out of here?
Nah, we're good, man.
All right, buddy. Good talking to you guys. Thanks for tuning in with us. And
oh wait, one last thing for those who didn't hear. You probably heard obviously, but tax filing was delayed to July 15th.
Yeah. Go ahead.
And I'm sure everybody knows that by now, but July 15th. And the other thing is with respect to that's my last comment on today, which I just kind of put out there. I don't know what's going to happen with this relief bill where they send money out to people and things like that. I just honestly hope that whatever they do, they just freaking do it.
Mm-hmm.
And they just doesn't get all bogged down in politics and delays and administrative nonsense where you have people that might actually need, and I don't want to comment whether I think it's good or not. Fact is they're going through it. And if they are, just do it and get the people their freaking money.
And by the way, I can take, as somebody, on the other side who's holding this up, I don't understand how conservative the party that I guess I've always attached myself to has become. They're like little petty children. Everything they've complained about the Republicans, they're doing right now. So F you to the Democrats. Get it together, guys. Like, I just hope we can all be peaceful. Don't use everything to dig some. Look, It's hard not to insult Trump at certain times these days, but as other than that, can we at least come together? And even with that, let's try not to do it just constantly.
Yeah.
That's where
All right. Sounds good.
I'll
see you tomorrow.
Hey, good luck to everybody. Stay safe out there. And hit us up on Twitter, Facebook, whatever. I'm sorry, Facebook. I mean, Twitter, YouTube, whatever it is. And good luck. Stay safe.